I'm Mrs. Burns, and today we are talking again about section 4.3, but today you get to use a calculator. So how do we find the percent of a number using a calculator to get that exact percent? Well, the first thing I'd like you to do is to try it in your head. I know it takes a little bit of effort, but this way you know if your calculations are reliable or if you made a silly mistake. Plus, if you're at dinner at a restaurant or you're at a store and there's a sale, you're not likely going to whip out your calculator. You want to be able to think about these percents in your head before we double check with the calculator. Let's try the first example. Jerry wants to give 12% of his paycheck to a local charity. If he made $827.42, how much should he give? Well, 12% is pretty close to 10%. We know that 10% of a number, you just take the decimal place and bump it over once. So 10% is 82.74. Additionally, we can think of what 1% is. 1%, we just bump it over twice, is 8.27. So we could just add these up. 82.74 plus 8.27 is 11% plus another 1%. That should give us 12%. So this would be 18 and 12, 16, 17, 18, 19. So about 99.28. To get that exact answer, let's calculate it out. 12% divided by 100 will give us 12% as a decimal, which is 0.12. 0.12 times his total of $827.42 gives us an answer of 99.29. Whoa, that's pretty close estimation. Alright, example 2, Mariana has 325 friends that attend Burnaby Central. She knows 2/5% of these friends from her elementary school. So how many of Mariana's friends went to elementary school with her? Well, let's use some mental math and figure it out. 2 over 5%. I think that's the trickiest part of this question. What does that mean? Well, let's make this so it's over 10. So if we times both by 2 here, we would get 4 over 10%. So this is just an equivalent fraction. It means the same thing. So 4 over 10, let's make that over 100. This gives us 40 over 100%. So that means it's 40%. So 2/5% is the same as saying 40%. So if we know maybe 50% is a really easy one. 50% of 325, well, we just divide that in half. Half of 325 is about 163. And then since it's 40%, we can figure out the 10% and then minus that. So 10% of 325 gives us 32.5. So 163 minus, let's round that up to 33, will give us 130-ish, maybe. So that's our estimation there. Let's calculate it. If we plug this into a calculator and we say 2/5%, or we could say 40%, this would be divided by 100 to get our decimal, 0.4. So 0.4 times 325 gives us 130 people from elementary school. That was a great estimation. Alright, last example. Kiana starts a new job at a local pet store. She notices that out of the 400 animals, 40.25% are cats. How many cats are at the pet store? Well, let's use some mental math here. 40.25%. We can rearrange this to say 40% plus 1/4%. This can also be rearranged to say 40%, and 1/4 is simply 0.25%. So we know that 10% of 400 animals gives us 40, and And so 40, if we have 10%, we want to get to 40%. We can times this by 4, the 40%, and we will get 160. And so if we don't even take account that quarter, we're going to have about 160. So a little over 160 would be like our estimation, because it's 40 and a quarter, and that's 40% right there. So let's calculate it out then. So 40 and a quarter percent, if we want to make this a decimal, we divide by 100, and this gives us 0.4025. So 0.4025 times 400 animals will give us how many cats? And we will see that you have, Kiana, at your store 161 cats. Wow, that's a lot of cats for a pet store. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't been to a pet store recently. So there you go. Now you should be comfortable estimating and calculating the percent of a number. Please be prepared to practice this tomorrow, and stay tuned next day for section 4.4 when we look at discounts and sales.